I remember it taking hours, but my mom tells me it happened all at once. I opened my eyes and she was there, sort of circled by light, and she said, "You're in the hospital. You were in an accident. You're going to be okay, but your friends are gone." In 1919, a group of friends, they called themselves the Vicious Circle. They started meeting every day for lunch to trade barbs and witticisms and generally just like savagely roast each other. They met every day at the Algonquin Hotel in New York City, and so they became known as the Algonquin Round Table. And they had famous members like Dorothy Parker and Irving Berlin and George Kaufman and Robert Benchley and Harpo Marx. These names might not mean anything to you now, but just try to imagine having lunch every day with like the cleverest Americans who ever lived, and you're halfway there. When I was in middle school, my best friend was Corey Arkefeld. I tried to get along with everybody, but the truth is I only wanted to be friends with people who were smart, people who were funny, and people who could play. And Corey could play. Some kids come like straight from the factory with like a supernatural sense of their own self-confidence, and Corey was one of those kids. When he was 14, he already acted like Bill Murray or something, like no fear, a total belief in his own charm, and an absolute assurance that whatever he was doing was right. So we started our own vicious circle. Corey became friends with Eric and Russ over in band class, and I brought them all over to the drama club with me. Now, Corey was always a little less excited about being in plays than I was, but he intuitively understood that this was an opportunity. An opportunity, one, to be hilarious in front of people, and two, to meet older, smart girls with cars. And he did. By the end of his freshman year, Corey was dating a senior girl named Misty, and she had her own friends. Melissa and Jessica, they were great. They were like if Wayne and Garth had been 1 and 2 in their class. We had a lot of friends in our circle, me and Corey, Eric and Russ, Misty, Melissa, Jessica, but these were the smart girls in cars that we'd been looking for. I had a concussion, and I had contusions under both my eyes where my glasses smashed into my face. I had a ruptured spleen and blood poured into my body. And I had a cracked pelvis from the seatbelt that probably saved my life. To say that I was groggy is like too small of a word. I was on Mars. I was out of it. I felt like I had been hit by a truck. In the 10 days that I was in the hospital, it seems like everybody I ever met came to see me. Like kids I went to Sunday school with, and kids I went to school with, but I wasn't really friends with, and friends that I had made at summer camp, and my parents' friends and their kids. The guys at the John Deere dealership where my dad bought tractors sent me a tractor. See, Nebraska is a small place. And in 1994, it was even smaller. And this seemed to touch everybody. And there was nothing anybody could do about it. Nothing but come see me, because I was just about all that was left. Now, I don't care where you go, or what you do, or how much money you spend. You will never have as much fun in your 40s as you did when you were 15, hanging out with your friends, doing nothing. Our vicious circle turned the whole world into the set for our own sketch comedy show that we were living every day of our lives. But Charlie, you might ask, wasn't that annoying to the people around you? Yes, it was. Like Corey would come over to your house and go into the kitchen and take all of the things out of the cupboard and move them all around, and you would never see her Tupperware again. One time at Jessica's house, her dad came in the living room and tossed $20 at us and said, "Hey, why don't you kids go get pie and never come to my house again?" Because, we had been playing, football with a vase, and at one point, Corey pulled a steak knife on my brother. So we took the money and we went and got the pie, because what we were doing didn't matter. If we were going to get yogurt or go to the movies or just go drive around downtown, we just needed a setting. We could make up the stories ourselves. When I arrived at home, I found that my parents had put an electric adjustable bed in our dining room, so I didn't have to try to go upstairs to my room with my walker and my cracked pelvis and a 6-inch gash running up my stomach. I had to learn how to clean that 6-inch gash with hydrogen peroxide so it didn't get infected. I had to learn how to take a shower sitting in a plastic lawn chair. I think that most of us consider ourselves like the protagonist of reality, and this was a dark, gritty reboot of The Charlie Show. Sometimes when adults would come to see me while I was recovering, they would say things like, they're in a better place, and God has a plan, and everything happens for a reason. And now as an adult, I realize that these people had just brushed up against the worst possible thing they could imagine. They had stared into the heart of darkness, and if they couldn't make some sort of sense out of it, some sort of meaning, they'd be lost. But at the time, when they said these things to me, I thought, what are you, stupid? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Everything happens for a reason. Okay, I had a concussion, not brain damage, all right? I remember waking up early in the morning before anybody else woke up, laying there in my electric adjustable bed in the dining room, and the light was coming in the window. And I remember thinking, there is no reason for this. There's no order to the world. There can't be. Because there is no justification for any of this. On July 22nd, 1994, we were all meeting at Eric's house to go to the movies. We were going to see The Crow with Brandon Lee. It was a different time, so just go with it. Corey had gotten his driver's license about 4 days before, and his parents had gifted him an old beat-up Buick with the B missing, and he liked to call it the Uick. Eric tells me that he remembers forgetting his inhaler inside, so he ran inside to get it, and by the time he came back, me and Russ and Melissa and Jessica had taken up all the seats in the Uick. So Eric went and got in the other car with Misty and my brother and our friends Becky and Jeremy. See, we were going to follow them to the movies and meet them there. You got to remember, this was 1994, so there were no cell phones. So when we didn't show up at the movie, they naturally assumed that we had ditched them, because if you've been paying attention to the story, you know that that's the kind of thing that Corey would have found hilarious, to kidnap us all in his car on the first night he had a license and drive off in the other direction. So they walked around downtown, and at one point, half joking, Eric tells me they went up on top of a parking garage and looked down on the streets to see if they could see us. He tells me that he remembers hearing sirens off to the southeast, but he didn't think anything of it. Well, when they decided to go back to Eric's house, they crested the hill, and that's when they saw the lights of the fire trucks and the ambulances. Later, the guy that lived across the street from Eric said that the accident, the crash, had been so loud that the whole neighborhood heard it. Misty was driving, and she pulled over to the side of the road, and my brother remembers seeing her get out of the car and race towards the scene. Now, my brother realized what was going on, but he had no idea what had happened to me. But he still had the presence of mind to get out of the car, get ahead of her, scoop her up, and put her back in the car. Now, that's a friend. My friend Russ got away with some bumps and scratches and cuts. They wheeled me away on a stretcher. And Corey and Melissa and Jessica, I remember it taking hours, but my mom says it happened all at once. She said, "You're in the hospital. You've been in an accident, but you're going to be okay. But your friends are gone." Now, I wish that I could tell you there was some resolution to this story, some catharsis. I feel like Aristotle would be so disappointed in me. I was talking about this catharsis problem with Rachel. Rachel's a former student of mine. I taught her storytelling, and she just graduated from clown school and is now in England doing feminist puppet shows, and everything about that sentence is true. And I told Rachel the story just like I told you. And I said, there's no resolution to this story. There's no way to bring those people back once the vicious circle has been broken. And Rachel paused, and she said, "But look what you do." And it was like she reached in my chest and plucked all the cello strings at once. Because even though it had never, ever occurred to me in 25 years, I knew exactly what she meant, and I knew it right away. And what Rachel meant was this. I am a college professor. I'm a storytelling coach. I'm a theater director. I used to coach speech and debate. My whole career, my whole life, has become about making circles of funny, smart kids. And when they grow up and they go on, they just bring me more funny, smart kids. And I make a new circle. Over and over again, around and around it goes.